Welcome, everyone, to another podcast. We have a very special actress here. Her name is Kat Fletcher. Hi, Kat.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Chris. I'm super excited to chat with you.
You're welcome. And I'm so happy that you were so patient and we were both patient and now culminates into this night beyond the show, which I
Love
love.
it.
Now, everyone, Kat Fletcher is a multifaceted Charlotte based actor, singer, aerialist. I'm going to ask you about that, and model, whose
Ooh.
12 years of stage and screen experience reflect a rare blend of technical discipline and emotional intelligence, which is very important. With a BA in theater, performance, and musical theater from UNC Charlotte, she brings a deeply rooted Stanislavski and Uta Hagen influenced approach to her craft. One grounded in preparation, presence, and a fierce respect for collaboration. Her performances span theater, film, and physical movement, revealing an artist who thrives equally in grounded dramatic work and the heightened physicality of aerial performance. I can't wait to talk about that part. Now, beyond acting, Kat is also an accomplished lighting designer and technician with credits at Children's Theatre of Charlotte, Three Bone Theatre, Theatre Charlotte, Matthews Playhouse, and UNC Charlotte, as well as work with IATSE Local 322, which she will tell us about. Her dual identity as both performer and technician gives her a rare 360-degree understanding of storytelling, how light, movement, voice, and intention converge to shape an audience's emotional experience. This holistic perspective makes her one of the most compelling emerging artists in the Southeast. Welcome, Kat, to the podcast. So happy to meet you. Can't wait to speak with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the beautiful intro. It's so crazy to hear it all in one place. And yeah, I totally agree about being on both sides of the stage or the camera or whatever it might be have really helped me because knowing what the other side is doing or what the other person is doing at any given time informs what you're doing when you're in one role, which I didn't expect at first. I used to see it as a disadvantage because I thought I had to pick between, okay, let's go all in as a performer or all in as a designer or a technician. And then I realized that they feed each other and it's a tough business. So the more skills you have, the better. So it ended up being something really helpful instead.
That's awesome to hear about that, Kat. But before we begin with all the questioning and grilling you, like I didn't do it. Before we begin, so what was life like for you growing up, and when did you want to be in the movie and film industry, a singer, aerialist?
Yeah, it was very out of the blue. I used to be a super shy kid, total opposite of anything to do with the arts. I used to read and read and read and not talk to humans, and that was about it. And my parents were honestly, they were like, "Wait, can you be social?" Like I was a super shut-in bookworm type person. And then in middle school, I came home and I said, "Mom, I'm going to audition for improv." And she was like, "You know what that is, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." I still don't know what happened. Like,
That's like
it's like a little
that's like
worm was
whose
like,
line
"You're
is
gonna
it
do this."
anyway? Like that, right?
Literally, yes, it was so fun, and that just started a whole obsession with I think it's the people that made me fall in love with it, because I had been not the most social person, and so being like, "Oh, other people want to express themselves and make silly jokes and do crazy stuff." And that's what drew me to it as a weird child, admittedly. I was like, "I get to do weird stuff and people like me for it? Okay, bet." And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, there's a lot of child actresses like Shirley Temple and even I don't know if you ever heard of Roddy McDowell, but he passed away at 70. But he's been acting since he was 12, and
So 12,
yeah.
that's about when I started. Oh, yeah.
But
Hello.
with you, when you approach a new role, Cat, that's funny. New role, Cat, that's funny. What is the very first question you ask yourself before any script analysis begins?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. Are you still able to hear me? There's someone in here, but I'm happy to keep chatting. Um, Usually, I start with Uta Hagen's 9 questions, which are my go-to, especially if I'm tackling a script that's a little bit more challenging and I'm like, what do I do? It's the Uta questions. And what I really enjoy about them is how in-depth they get. It's who am I, what am I, where am I, but it gets into as much or as little detail as you want. And what I like to do is the really, really minute stuff that no audience member would ever notice, but like, what's her favorite candy? What did she stub her toe when she was 10 years old? Like the little stuff that just makes you feel connected and helps create that divide between this is Cat, this is the character. Because there are differences, but there are lots of similarities as well. So it's really helpful to kind of compare those two. So I'll do those, and then I'll always make a character playlist as well, which I love doing, just based on like maybe stuff that the character might listen to or songs that tell the story of the character's arc. And then if it's a live show, I'll listen to that while I'm getting ready and just be like in the zone. Or if it's on set, I'll be like, okay, this is where we're at in the story. Let me get into a frustrated headspace, maybe she's joyful, whatever it might be. That was a long-winded answer, but basically Uta Hagen, she's incredible. I love her work and her book, Respect for Acting.
Do you have memory issues sometimes, or what do you drink? What do you eat to make you remember your script better?
Yeah, I'll be honest, my diet is so terrible right now. My family is super into health stuff, and my mom is much better at it than I. But honestly, especially when it's tech week or long days on set, I'm eating whatever is around me and most grabbable. So diet isn't as much. But honestly, for me, it's just about repetition. And there's so much downtime, especially on set, that even if it's not for the project we're working on, I'll be like, okay, they're setting up a shot. Let me sneak out my script, read it. So little tricks like that. Honestly, most of my friends, I'll be like, hey, can you help me run lines? And I know they're sick of it, but I'm so grateful for them. But yeah, I'd say repetition and voice memos. Like if I'm driving, I will just play a loop of myself saying the lines, and it's maddening, but it really works because then you have to hear it and like talk along with it.
Do you ever go and watch those YouTube videos called ASMR? It comes for autonomic sensory meridian response. It's sort of like they have go
What did
and
you say it was called?
ASMR,
Aud-
auto sensory meridian
oh,
response. Type in
yes,
ASMR,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, and they're like brushing and they go, name's Veronica, you know. So it's really interesting, and some have gone as
Yes, I
far
love
as,
those.
and it really settles you, and you're just like, oh. And when you do one where you follow them into the salon, you close your eyes, you hear the person speak whispering, and when they walk, it feels like they're walking along the side and behind you, and it's so it's like, oh, you open your eyes, you're thinking they're standing right there. It's so good, but it's so relaxing. I like that. So, but that's
I
how I
love that.
remember
Like the
things. Yeah,
the
that's how I
360.
remember things. But I was speaking to many other actors and actresses, and they said that they sometimes get the script that day, and they have to spend the whole day memorizing before they. Do you ever do that? Do you ever get that too?
Oh yes, especially it's less of a thing now that self-tape auditions have become the norm. Back when it was cold reads, you would literally walk in if it was a cattle call with a bunch of people, and they say, "Okay, take this. You have 5 minutes, and you gotta at least have it."
Oh
So I
my,
actually
truly,
did learn a trick from a friend who does. She writes down the first letter of every word, especially if it's a monologue, and basically like starts taking out more and more letters until so that it's baby steps. So
really,
that's one way that I'm like, I have 5 minutes to learn this. Oh my gosh. I'll do like mnemonics and that kind of thing. And also I think the brain just knows like if there's pressure, I can get it. If there's not, it will take a week. But if I only have a couple minutes, then we'll get it done. If there's
so you,
pressure, it'll happen. But
so
that's
you remove each
definitely a
individual
thing and it's
letters
terrible.
until you get just letters. That's all you get. Is like, so a person would walk in to ask for a raise. They go like that. All the letters are gone.
Like I would write down, like if my line was like, "Hi Chris, nice to meet you," I would write down HCNTMY. And then I'd be like, Hi, Chris, nice, too,
Oh,
until eventually I don't need the letter.
that's like an acronym, like
Yes,
the first
that's what it is, acronym.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
There's a
That
couple different ways. Like I know folks that do other weird like mind trick things, and I'm like, but I just do the acronyms. Won't even lie. Sometimes I'll have a flashcard and then I'll take the crutch away. Like it's different every time, but it's definitely I got mad respect for people that have to learn stuff on the fly like that.
No, I know film is differently. I used to be, well, I still am a photographer, but I used to be C41 and regular print photography and all these, stuff like 20 some odd years ago. And it's sort of like the film was sensitive to blue, and sometimes the film was sensitive to fluorescent lighting. Like, it'll pick up, that's why you have photos that are green because of fluorescent lighting, because fluorescents turn on and off 60 times a second. So you really can't see it. So if you take a picture of fluorescent lighting, at some point when you get the photos back, some of those lights will be off and some of them will be on. So you work both in front of the lights and behind them. How has lighting design changed the way you understand human emotion on stage?
Hi, my name is Kat Fletcher. I'm 5'6", based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank you so much.
Dude, is that a real gun?
Dakota, what the fuck? Why did you do that? He had a bag of money. I got bills. What did you want me to do?
Not fucking kill him, you psychopath! What is wrong with you?
I don't know what's going on with me. No, and I'm messing with your work.
I can put this down for a second.
No, not we. Dumbass Dirty Harry over here.
Well, why would he lie? He said it was real.
I don't know. He probably was joking because he didn't think you were gonna fucking shoot him.
Well, damn, my bad.
Oh my god.
We're fucked.
We? There's no we. There's you. Only you.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
It just seems like some weird thing is going on every night. I feel like the lack of sleep is compounding it. I mean, sometimes I literally think that someone is looking at me from the closet.
Wake up!
Yay! Oh, there you are.
Awesome. Any chance to? I mean, you sound great on my end. How's it sounding for you?
Great. So you can hear me perfect?
I can. The service is so much better now. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. Welcome back. Welcome back, Kat Fletcher, to the podcast. We just showed a little bit of your film reel, and we thought we'd come back to you and start asking you some more questions.
I would love that. I'm magically in a new location. We were talking about lighting design a bit.
Yeah. So, what I want to ask you is that I know that sometimes lighting is different, regardless whether it's on the person or you're behind it. So, you work with both in front of the lights and behind them. So, now, how has lighting design changed the way you understand human emotion on stage?
That's a beautiful question. Um, I would say in terms of stage specific, it had always been something that interested me while I was performing. There was a little bit of me that was thinking, wow, I wish I could learn more about what that person's doing. But once I did take some design courses, it was really cool to see firsthand by working on other people, especially when it's on humans, but just in general, seeing how one light, one single fixture can change the entire mood of a scene or how you're perceiving a particular person. I really love playing with weird angles. So like if it's a more stylized piece or some kind of texture, or like, the like when you're telling a scary story and there's the flashlight, I love just seeing how on a human face you can change so quickly. Wow, that's so flattering. Oh, that's a monster. Like, so that's not exactly pertaining to emotion per se, but I just love how, even though it's completely different applications, whether you're using yourself as a performer or using lights, the goal is the same, to make people feel a certain way. And that's what I love so much about it, because you're working with a team of equally nerdy, equally incredibly talented people who all want the same thing: to make the audience, whether that's in person or on a screen, feel something. I want you to get excited. I want you to feel empathy for this character. It's so exciting. I like to geek out about it.
Yeah, when you're, let's say, well, so you were actually in the film Vents, and you were the lead. You played, from Nightwire Films, you played, I guess it was directed by Spencer Bang, but doesn't tell you what you played, but you played the lead. So what kind of lighting was that?
Yeah, so that was Spencer and Brent alongside, or no, Sean and Brent alongside Spencer. There was no real like director or DP. They were all collaborating together. And they had called me in because it was for I want to say 72-hour film festival.
Wow.
And I don't know much about film lighting at all. I've primarily worked only in stage. So I took it as an opportunity to kind of study what they were doing and say, hey, what does that do? So honestly, I got to learn a lot about how the techniques differ. And I noticed that the execution is really different, in which like what kind of instruments you're using, how far out they are, how much crew, that kind of stuff. But the goal is the same. And it was a lot of trial and error seeing that. And I couldn't see it as much, but they were just looking at me being like, no, yeah. And then I would be like, hey, can you explain why you made that choice? And they'd show me a before and after. So it was, honestly, I just like learning from them. It was great. And it was a really fun script and good people to work with.
And you also have to trust the other lighting professionals when you're in front of the camera.
Oh,
Than
yeah.
when you do it yourself, because it's sort of like the roles were reversed. It's like, you had the lights on me when you were doing it and I was acting, and I look pretty good. So I'm going to make you look pretty good. Is it like that?
Yeah. It's really cool to turn off one part of like take off different hats. Because when I'm in cast mode, I'm not going to step on someone else's toes. I'm like,
Mhm.
let me let you do your thing. I'll be your mannequin. And vice versa. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you should say this line this way, because I'm in like beep boop mode. And honestly, it's the same as, not to dehumanize people, but it's the same as lighting an object. Like, I'm like, okay, you're my mannequin, you do your thing, I'm gonna make you look pretty. So it's fun to switch those hats on and off depending on what the project is.
When you do you actually do home auditions where you have someone play the, I guess you call it the protagonist and you're an antagonist, but you're like saying your line and someone there will read it and then see, like, for instance, like crying, for instance, how would you do that? How would you do crying, yelling? I remember that Dustin Hoffman, he's an elderly actor. He's really well known. He's 86 now. I can't believe it. But he did he did the Dustin Hoffman masterclass. And he says when you yell at someone, you face the window and you shout so much that if the window breaks or the window kind of shutters, that's what you should be doing. You should make your voice shatter, or at least move a window in order, like, you got to get your point across. You can't just say, I'm very angry with you, but that makes me very mad. I'm really, you want to go,
So upset
really
right
show
now.
you want to show the face and everything. Like when you were in these movies. Okay, so this one, I love this Gorilla Mind. And you were in theater, like, As You Like It, as
Fun.
Rosalind, and The Little Mermaid as Ursula. Awesome. So I want to ask, what's a moment, Kat, in your career when preparation failed you and instinct had to take over?
Ooh, that's an amazing question. I would say making the transition from theater to film was the biggest moment of realization that would happen more, because theater, Obviously, there's always going to be blips, or maybe your memory fails you with lines, but theater, we've run the same thing a lot of times. Whereas film, even though you can do reshoots, some of my first shorts, I realized, oh, wow, we don't have as much prep time as I'm used to. We don't have as much turnover for like to let thoughts and stuff we've rehearsed simmer as much because we rehearse. Okay, let's roll. So there have definitely been some times when like blocking wise, trying to pat your tummy and rub your head or whatever it is. I'd say my very first short film, everyone was super patient, but there were a few moments of like, oh, we're doing it now, because I was so used to, oh, we've been working together for months and now we open and there's this big lead up. And I don't really have a preference between the two, but it was definitely an adjustment for realizing, okay, we're in film land, we're in theater land. There's very different norms for timeline, behavior, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow, that's amazing, Kat. Now, I know that you've trained in everything from Stanislavski to aerial silks. What's the most unexpected way one discipline has influenced another? And for people that don't know what aerialist and aerialist silks are, can you explain to the audience?
I would love nothing more. It's one of my favorite things. It's trying to think of the best way to put it. I'd say it's a mix between gymnastics, dance, acrobatics, something like that. I work on aerial silks, which are the big fabrics, sling, which is the same thing, but like a little U. And then I do trapeze and hoop as well. And I
Wow.
just love the circus community so much. I used to do tech actually, where I would just work backstage at my high school for their circus program. And I
Wow.
always, oh, this is so cool. I wish I could do it. But there was this brain block where I thought, no, that's for strong people. I'm not really a dancer. That I don't have the muscle for that. And then I got to college and I said, I want to try this. And had this like, oh my gosh, I have free will. We can teach ourselves things. And there was a huge learning curve to begin with. Like I was bad, I can't even lie. And then once the getting used to being upside down and spinning and holding your body weight, like all that
Yeah.
muscle and muscle memory started to become familiar. And I remember things that used to take like every ounce of focus are my warm up now. And I'm like, I'm spinning. So that's just the overview. But I would say that's one of the things that bleeds most into the other disciplines as well. Mostly like mental health wise, it has brought so much joy into my life and
Oh, yeah.
so much connection with other people. I feel like it came in a time when I just graduated college. I was a little bit down. Just a bunch of personal stuff was happening alongside, oh, I'm in the real world now. And Ariel came up at such a wonderful time to show me that you can always learn new things. You can always connect with new people. And it ignited this sense of play that I hadn't had in a really long time, where I realized it's okay to want to be like a kid a little bit. And I want to swing on things and I want to try new things. And we don't have to give that up when we're adults. And that fed a lot into my acting as well, where I was like, oh, yes, we can. It is a job and I take it seriously and I have a lot of respect for the work. But I think I had been so far like work, 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 work that I didn't think about the joy, and I lost the playfulness. That's such a big part of what I see in wonderful actors, is them still feeling that joy while they work. That was a word vomit, but it brought a lot of joy back, and it brought me out of a really dark place.
Oh, so sorry. We actually
Oh, no, it was wonderful.
we had James P. Kelleher from 90 Day Fiance. He's a mental health worker. We had him on about a week ago, and it's really good when he tells you and helps you deal with, because it's Mental Health Month, right? So that really helps. Um, and I know that there's several people who are musicians and other actors and aerialists who have to have something happen in their lives, and they have to go through something in mental health. They have to just take care of themselves, do something for themselves, do something nice for themselves, like walking or like you do, reading and whatever. But you got to take care of that, right?
Absolutely. It was a great reminder. And honestly, I wasn't moving my body as much as I should have been either. I've always been like, I don't want to go to the gym, da da da. So it's kind of a tricky way to get your body moving, get those endorphins that you need, but also it's also artistic expression, and it takes so much dexterity. Like, it just, I could rave for hours about silks. I love it. And it hurts your hands a lot, but it's a win. It's worth it.
Yeah, you played many characters either in film or commercial or theater, like Little Shop of Horrors ensemble.
Oh, I love Little Shop.
Playboy of the Western World as Pigjean, and our favorite Shakespearean plays, As You Like It, which we saw recently. We have Shakespeare in the Park here every year, so we always see something. But which character you played has stayed with you the longest, and what part of them refuses to let go?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. Well, you brought up Playboy of the Western World and As You Like It. I'd say Rosalind and Pegeen are about even right now. I'm going to do a toss-up. I'd say Rosalind. That was such a wonderful, that was honestly my first foray into really working with Shakespeare, and it was a beast of a play to tackle. But the group I was doing it with were so supportive. And it was with, he's no longer with the university, but Dr. Hartley was our Shakespeare professor at the time. Man is a genius. He taught me so much. And of course, I started with a bit of apprehension of like, oh, me? Can I do this? But it was really fun. Are you familiar with, you said you've seen Shakespeare in the Park. Are you familiar with the plot of As You Like It?
I know almost. I've seen all of Shakespeare plays. My favorite is Merchant of Venice.
Yes.
I love that one with Shylock and Portia dressing up as a man. Oh, it's a great one. And then I seen As You Like It just recently, but Midsummer's Night Dream was a good one.
I think that's my favorite.
I want to ask you about Shakespeare. Is it difficult to learn Shakespeare because you got to do all vowels and those and because when I was in high school, we had to learn Merchant of Venice. We had to read Merchant of Venice, and we had to learn and memorize. The quality of mercy is not strained, for it droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven. And I even still remember that part.
You had to learn that too. Yeah.
So even though we remember that little part, would it be easy for me to, quality of mercy is not strained, so that means I can open up Merchant of Venice and start learning and do the whole play? Or is it just those specific soliloquies and sonnets that are easy to do?
No, you could do it. It's a lot of repetition. I would say the text isn't inherently difficult. It was just the quantity was intimidating. And I will say, I think I let seeing this enormous binder intimidate me. So it could be a chicken before the egg thing. It happened eventually. But because the language is so prosy and so not what we're used to, if you don't know what you're saying, it's near impossible. But if you go through and say, oh, okay, she's saying I'm mad at you. She's just saying it in the way they spoke at this time. If you know what it means, easy work. And especially because it is so metaphorical and like there's all these flowery words. Once somebody gives you like, you're like, oh yes, the weird phrase about raven eyes, da 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 da. So there's elements that are a lot harder to learn. But once you get the gist of especially what a soliloquy or something is saying, it's like riding a bike. You're like, oh yeah, this is where we're going. And she's mad and now she's yelling. Cool. So it's pretty much the same flow.
There's sometimes when you have to, like, I remember my first song I sang in church. I learned it for a whole week. I could memorize it. I could even sing it with my eyes closed. But come time when you're standing in front of 100 people, you have the mic, and then you're like singing, and then you're like, "Oh my goodness, what's the second lyrics?" I couldn't remember. So to keep my composure, I just sang the first again. And when they said, "That's good, Chris," whatever, instead of me saying, "Thank you so much," moving on, I went, "Yeah, well, I forgot this, I forgot that, but how terrible was that?" But and they're like, "Shut up, Chris."
Like, oh, I've been there so many times, and the same thing happens where I'm going to smile and I'm like, thank you so much. And I get off and I say, I made up half of those words. And no one notices. You notice, but no one else does. I've had a few moments where I'm like, I am saying some absolute nothingness right now. But you get through it and you say it with conviction.
Yeah, like those misheard lyrics that they have in music sometimes. You're thinking you're hearing something that's not true. Like, if you listen to one of Michael Jackson's songs really carefully, you think he's saying the burgers are the best. So
Yes, Michael.
yes, yes.
Do you remember which
Um,
song that is?
no, I don't. But there's a English comedian who does Mr. Lyrics. He does a whole half an hour of he talks to you and then he plays it like this, and then everyone in the audience laughs and saying, "Yeah, it does sound like that," you know. So, but
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check that
what
out.
yeah, what's a creative risk you took that terrified you at the time but reshaped your confidence as an artist?
Ooh. There are a few that come to mind. I would say this was actually back in high school. There was a character that in a play called Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh yeah.
It's a 1960s farce. I love it to death. There aren't a ton of female characters, and the ones that are for the most part pretty like I am the wife, I am this like, and none of those were really calling to me. And there was this one that was it was the role of Dr. Einstein, who is male, German, drunk all the time, just a whole character with a capital C. And I just fell in love with that character. And I had been told, no, we're not going to gender bend. We're not, just go for a female role. And I kept being like, well, what if? And I decided, okay, I don't know how to do a German accent. I'm 15. I've never drank alcohol in my life. I'm just going to lock in. And I did a bunch of really weird research of like, here's how to do a German accent. Here's how, like, very niche stuff that I'd never tried before. And I went into the audition and I ended up getting the role, which I didn't expect at all. I was expecting to get laughed at. My drama teacher at the time was fantastic, so I knew he'd be kind no matter what, but I was like, I'm being so dumb right now. And he was like, man, you convinced me, kid. And I was like, yes. So it was super fun, and it was a great memory to work on that show, but it was definitely a risk because I was like, I'm about to make a fool of myself. And I did, in a good way. It was super fun.
Could you literally walk into a room and just recite as you like it as Rosalind?
Oh my gosh. I hope so. Right now, the thing is happening where none of the words are in my mind. But gosh, that was just so fun. Like you were talking about the gender bending with like Portia dressing up as a man. That's what I loved. I loved playing Rosalind when she's comfortable in her femininity and she's out as a woman versus when she knows people know that she's a woman. Like there's so many levels of acting like you're acting like a man. And I loved showing little glimpses of like, I'm a man. Like that kind of stuff was really fun. And the
Yeah,
physicality.
you should look up this actress. She had no success in movies or in Hollywood, so she decided to dress up as a man for years and years, and it only discovered she was a woman when she died.
Are you serious? Did she
Yeah,
have like a good like did she work in film and theater and stuff as a
just
man?
yeah, everything, and people loved her. I mean, loved him, and didn't reveal
Oh my
to
goodness.
anybody that she was a woman. Yeah,
I
so
might have to steal that strategy.
but with you, how do you personally define truth, like in performance, and how do you know when you've reached it?
Hmm. I will say I've given a lot of thought to this in terms of what feels good or what feels like a real performance because there's so many different standards for whether we're on a stage and we're projecting to a big audience, what the vibe of the show is, whether it's a drama or we're kind of yucking it up because it's a sitcom. So I do think it varies. And there was a period which I think a lot of young actors go through as well. And I still have these doubts from time to time where I'll do a scene or I'll say something and the doubt of like, was that right? That used to come up a lot more. And I think for me, truth and rightness came from giving up the idea of there being a right. Because when you're thinking, am I doing it right? Are people liking me? Did I say it right? That's not a thing. It's never going to be right. But if you're thinking about what the character wants and you're thinking, am I convincing her to give me her baby? Am I like whatever the situation might be? If you're that focused on that, it's almost, I hate to use this phrase, but like the thing people call flow state on TikTok. That's what I've been seeing. That's what it feels like, where you lose the self-consciousness and you almost are convinced that you're living in that world for a few minutes. That's what feels like truth to me. Living, oh my gosh, the quote is eluding me, but it's living truthfully under untruthful circumstances. That is what I live by. I love it. I want to say that Stanislavski, but it someone said that to me in college, and I was like, that, oh my gosh, that. And it helped, because before I had been so obsessed with getting it right. And if you want to get it right, you're focusing on the wrong thing. It's about connecting with the audience and connecting with your scene partner. And that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, there's a song on Billy Joel's first album called Cold Spring Harbor called Get It Right the First Time. That's the main thing. So it's true. Get it right the first time. That's the main thing. But if you don't, just keep trying until you do. With you as a strong theater background, Kat, so is it what misconception people have about actors and actresses with strong technical theater backgrounds?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say I see it less now, but when I was younger, there was definitely more of a push for, you have to market yourself as one thing. Especially when I was in, I was going to say undergrad, when I was in late high school, prepping for college, all that I was surrounded by, and I don't know if this was the environment I was in or the side of the internet I was on, but the perception I got was, if you don't do a BFA in performance or acting or design tech, if you don't pick your route, you're not going to have any success. And there are definitely people that still believe that, but I could not be more grateful that I didn't pick. And for a while, there was definitely some like, oh, well, which one? What's your thing? And I would have to say both. I like both. And they'd say, but what's your thing? So it's become less prominent lately, I think, as I've established myself in both of those. But back when it was an educational setting, there was a lot of like, but which one are you going to pick? But which one? And I was like, I don't know. I love them both. So finally coming to terms with not having to choose was a huge win, because for a while I was like, which one? I don't know. And I would encourage younger people that are struggling with that similarly, do it all. Do it all. Life is too short to not do all the things that you think are cool.
Can you recall a moment in rehearsal when a director gave you a note that permanently changed how you work?
Ooh. This isn't a specific moment, but a note that, and I can't remember who gave this, but I really appreciate when directors or instructors or anybody is blunt, upfront about it, because I get it. Performing is a really, really personal, vulnerable art, and it's tough to look at someone and say, hey, that was bad. Hey, that's not it. So I don't blame these people at all, but I do know a lot of instructors that would be like, that was great. And that's all you hear. And what changed how I worked the most was hearing blunt feedback. And it was never mean. It was never intended mean. And I never took it that way. But hearing the words, I don't believe you, were the most helpful words ever, because I can't tell. I'm living it. So hearing someone be like, let's try it again, I don't believe you, was really helpful and refreshing to hear and be like, oh, okay. And then that could be a dialogue where I say, were there mannerisms? Was it something in my eyes or the way I said something? And we could unpack what the reason was. And then whatever that reason we found, it's like diagnosing a health thing. It's like, oh, okay, this was my tell. Or having someone point out, hey, you always do this with your hands. You're always serving muffins. Basically, I appreciate being clocked because I get that it's hard to say to someone's face, hey, this isn't great, but I appreciate when a director is upfront and says, hey, we got to work on this. Because it's just like if you got a math problem wrong, someone's not going to be like, that was good. So I want to be told when my math is wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the web series on YouTube called Darman, but there was an episode where one of the characters made fun of a deaf girl in the bar who was, her brother was the barkeep, and he made fun of her because, with the way she was. And then he was in an accident, lost his hearing, and then he had to learn sign language, and he knew how difficult it was. So when he finally met her in the bar, he was like, and I'm like, oh. So when you mentioned how difficult it was, sometimes we think it's just like, oh, you wake up in the morning and I be like this, good morning and all this stuff. But you have to work through it. You gotta like, even as a good actor, you ask the best actors and actresses out there. When they started, they were just, like, for instance, Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears were actually on the same Mickey Mouse Club, and now look at them.
I
And
didn't
Taylor
know
Swift
that.
as well.
Wait,
And
that's so cute.
Taylor Swift, there was a video going around of her singing when she was 11 or 12, and you don't know what you're going to do if you just keep it up. You can,
Mhm.
and then you're like, someone comes up to you and says, "How do I want to do what you do?" And say, "Well, it takes hard work. Can't I just wake up and get there?" Stuff like no. But
Yeah.
I know you we talked about how you were Rosalind, as you like it. And I don't know if Shakespeare specifically mentioned how Rosalind is supposed to act. And now you played also Ursula in The Little Mermaid as well. So what's that between Ursula to Rosalind? What's that tough line that connects the roles you're most drawn to?
Ooh. Well, it's definitely a big leap between Rosalind and Ursula, for sure. Um, I would say I've definitely struggled with type in the past because I've heard two different camps. Some folks say you have to know your type, and if you don't put yourself in a box, then you're not being clear to casting. And then I've heard some folks that say don't pigeonhole yourself. You can play any type of role, just put yourself out there. And I'm not quite sure. Like, I've always struggled with where I sit in that. I think it's somewhere in the middle because I do agree. Like, everybody's got a vibe. I would say usually Rosalind was kind of an outlier because usually I'm playing the mean one, like Ursula, or the sassy one, or something like that, which, don't get me wrong, I love. Um, but Rosalind was a really nice breath of fresh air because I got to jump into comedy and a more light-hearted character that is pursuing love instead of revenge or bitterness or something like that. Um, but I would say when differentiating those, the biggest thing, like the first step, is physicality. I'm thinking, where does this person hold their tension? Where do they start their walk? Like Ursula, she knows what she's got, and she's slinky because she's an underwater creature. And just starting with that physicality also kind of helps remind you, okay, I'm not Kat, I'm not Chris right now, I'm Ursula. Whereas Rosalind, there's not a ton on, like, other than she's quirky. I played her up as a little more awkward. There's a lot more wiggle room in terms of what her personality and her mannerisms are like compared to like something that's been in a Disney movie and has all these different source materials. Like, I think there's a lot more variety in Rosalind's. So in differentiating those, I wanted her to be light. I wanted her to be very physical and kind of awkward because she's got a crush on Orlando. Um, Long-winded, but basically physical stuff helps to differentiate those so that Ursula doesn't bleed into Pegeen and Pegeen doesn't bleed into Rosalind, so that they all are different people, hopefully.
Do you get along with most of the people you work with?
Oh, I hope so. Honestly, too much, because sometimes I'm like, I need to focus. We're yapping. Um, but I would say yes, because the people are a big part of what I'm there for. So even if I'm tired, which, don't get me wrong, like if it's an early call time, I'm gonna be like, "Good morning, nice to meet you." But I'm in it for the connection with other people. So I love getting to hear about other people's stories, and especially like with such a gig-based profession as acting, you're meeting new people all the time. You might see Billy Bob Joe that you worked on one project 5 years ago on some random commercial, and you're like, Billy Bob, hey. So I love, yes, is the answer. I love meeting new people.
I only ask you that because I've known many actors who didn't get along with their co-stars
Really?
off set, but as soon as they're on set, boom, you get along, you do whatever, you can kiss the girl, You can make them cry, whatever. You're in drama, but as soon as they say cut, I don't want anything to talk. I don't want to talk to you. No, no. It's
I
like,
mean, don't get me wrong. There have been situations where I'm like, oh, usually it's nothing super severe. It's just like this person and I aren't gonna be friends outside of work. We same as any job. Like we don't super jive. Maybe we can't really like small talk that well, or the small talk is just kind of awkward. But I can do the scene and I can pretend to be your girlfriend and then bye. Have a good day. Like usually it's
exactly. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm not hitting it off with everyone leaving besties, but it's good to know that you can be cordial to most people.
Do you know why?
Hopefully.
You know why Liam Neeson is so loved? Because in Taken, he goes, "I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but it's money. I tell you, I don't have any, but what I do have is a special set of skills that'll make me a nightmare to people like you." And I remember when he was in an interview in a talk show, and a guy stood up in the audience and said, "Can you threaten me?" So they put the lights down low. They gave him a microphone and said, "What is your name?" I said, "I don't know who you are," and it was just like so perfect. So
That's crazy.
when you known things for that, what about are you known when people say Cat Fletcher? Oh my God, I love doing. Was it Ursula, Charlotte, Rosalind, Pegine ensemble like Audrey? Would they remember you? What character would they remember you as?
Ooh. I haven't gotten a ton of that for theater stuff, just because I'd say most of the folks coming to support theater are theater friends as well. So I'm like, hey, I loved your show. You came to see mine. Awesome. But film stuff, I've gotten some weird, like, mainly people just follow me on Instagram and I'm like, hey. And they're like, I saw you in blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's relatively new. A lot of it was I worked on a lot of shorts my senior year at university, and that was all like the same group of folks, the same pool of people that were working on the same projects. And there was something called the Gold Reel Film Festival, and then I ended up winning Best Actress for that, which was such an amazing honor. And it was such a great experience to work with some of my best friends. But the months after that, people around school would just be like, "You're a Cat Fletcher," and I wasn't prepared for that. I'm always grateful to be recognized for my work, but I didn't think we were at that place yet. So I was like, "Yes! Oh my gosh!" It was a pleasant surprise to be seen. Or people would just be like, "I know your face. I don't know where from, but I know you," and I was like, "Nice to meet you."
What about musicals? Like you are a singer. Have you
Yes.
done musicals?
I have. The most recent was Little Shop of Horrors. I got to understudy Audrey. Um, I'd say that was just a dream role for the longest time. Little Shop has always been one of my favorite shows, and when I saw that Theater Charlotte was doing it, I was like, oh, I did it when I was a really little kid, and I was in the ensemble, super little, and I was like, one day I want to play Audrey. And I actually got the chance to go on for an understudy show, and my parents drove out to see it, and my friends and loved ones were all in the audience, so that was so special. And the person playing the principal, Audrey, Gabriella, we hit it off. She became one of my best friends because of that experience. And I know that's not always the case. I know that inherently there's going to be some clashing because there's the weird, like, oh, we're sharing a role, da da da. So I had been a little apprehensive at first of like, oh, I don't want to step on her toes. I don't want to like invade. She was so welcoming, so professional. Everybody was. So it was artistically and personally a really amazing experience to get to do this thing I've been dreaming of since I was a kid, and also make a really good friend with someone I was sharing a track with. Because I could be like, Gabriella, when is this scene? What am I doing? It was nice to have somebody to consult.
So what kind of piece of advice you received early in your training, Kat, that you now completely disagree with?
Ooh. There are a lot. I'd say in general, because it's such a subjective art form, there are a lot of statements that, like blanket statements of like, never do blank, always do blank. And I have heard every end of the spectrum Even with self-tapes, this is my self-tape setup. I've heard some folks say, like, never look at the camera. And some folks that are like, it's bold to look at the camera. Like, everyone's opinion is different, but stuff like that. I definitely was taught a very specific set of rules for theater performance. And some of them were etiquette, which, like, heck yes, we need more theater etiquette. But some of it was like, never turn your back to the audience. And that was drilled into me. Like, you always have to cheat out. And then once I got to college, people were like, no, you're good. Why are you doing that? So I think when we're kids, we're taught very specific, and like we take that as law. We're like, okay, I can never show my back. And then once we get into the professional world, it's like, oh, okay, it's a collaboration. It's an art. There's going to be some wiggle room depending on what the piece calls for. That's the only like concrete example I can think of, but there's definitely been a lot of those where it's like, you can't do blank, and then you do blank and you realize that the world's not going to end, and it's kind of fun.
Do you ever do what do you call it, method acting, where you take your character home with you without realizing, no, sorry, I was being Rosalind to you, or you know?
I will say I try, and most folks I know do advise against it as well, at least in like the extreme end of it. I know it works for some people, but especially when it's a heavier source material or like a heavier subject, that can be really bad for you. So there's been times when I do incorporate it in little fun ways, like if there's a dialect or the character is from a different state or something, learning more about like, okay, she's from Iowa. Let me learn what Iowa looks like. I don't know if that exactly fits into method, but usually I'm a strong anti-method because I've known people that are like, I'm being the character, and it's a little terrifying. And I think it's really important for your own mental well-being to have ways to snap out of it. The only example I can think of is if there's a dialect, I will annoy my friends and family, and I will do it at home because you got to get used to it. Like Playboy of the Western World, I was Irish for like way too long and everybody was sick of it. But I was like, I've got to do it. And it really did help.
So if you were like an evil queen, how would you do that persona? Like they give you the script and they say, okay, Kat, you're the evil queen, but they don't tell you how it should be. You have to develop it yourself. What would you think evil queen Catherine would be like?
I would say it would start in one place. Like I'm reading the script and I'm preparing what my perception of that is. And I'm going to bring a version that, like, acting is all about making choices. And they could and probably will be wrong to the director, but you make a choice. And then you get into the rehearsal room and they say, okay, I like this. Let's keep that. I want this to lean a little more this way. But what I would start with, she's going to be regal. She's going to have way better posture than Kat. She's going to be slinky, and she's going to move much more slowly and controlled than Kat moves like this and is really excited and uses her hands. Evil Queen is going to be very specific and, I don't know what the word is, thoughtful and meticulous about every movement, and every word is going to be more articulated and that kind of thing. And then once we get into the room, the director and the rest of the creative team can say, okay, I like this. Let's keep cooking with this, less of blank. So it's part taking the collaboration of the rest of the team, but also bringing your own ideas. It's really fun.
Well, some actors like Richard Gere, he played a bagman in a movie, so he spent the whole week on the street. Would you do something like that? Would you play the evil queen, an evil princess, maybe a mean girl, maybe a evil Karen, just to get that part throughout the whole week? So you'd be like a Karen. People's like, I don't like Kat anymore, the way she treated me. It's only a part. You know?
I would never do that to unsuspecting people. Unless if there was like a situation, like I would not go out on the street and be like, you're ugly, like be rude to people, because I can't say, hey, I'm sorry, it was an acting exercise. But in a closed environment, I think that's really helpful. Like there have been a lot of in acting classes where the professor will be like, okay, Chris, come here, you're going to stand in front of Kat while she delivers her monologue, and you're going to be a body for her to perform that too, basically. So like sometimes I'll be doing a tape and I'll say, hey, I need a friend to stand in front of me. I'm going to say some weird stuff at you. Just know it's not Kat. And it does help to have a human being because it gives you more stakes, because you're thinking, oh, wow, there's a real human being that's hearing these words, whether I'm attacking or asking for something or seducing or whatever it might be. It makes the stakes feel more real because you have that person. But on the street, I'm gonna leave that to the method girlies.
Yeah, I remember actress Vanessa Nottingham from Darman. I had her on the show. She played a lot of Mean Girls, and one day
She the blonde.
she was telling me that people were recognizing her as, oh, you're the mean girl from Darman. She said, no, she's really nice, and she
She's
loves
so
people.
cool.
She loves people. So what happened is that she was having a little argument with her dad, and just when she was having an argument, are you Vanessa Nottingham? I knew you were like that. I said, no, it just happened to catch me at a bad time, you know. So it was kind of, you should check that out, that episode 200, I think.
I
But
would love to
she's
check that
awesome.
out. I'm a huge fan of hers.
Yeah, we've been friends for a while, but yeah. So, do you still have a little bit of time? Because I
I
still
do, absolutely.
Great.
I am here for you.
So, Kat, how do you navigate the emotional whiplash of switching between intense dramatic roles and physically demanding aerial work?
That's a great question. I would say both of them come back to a term I learned pretty recently, like in undergrad, called de-rolling, which basically just means coming back to yourself. And I'd say even though one is more physical and one is more intellectual or emotional, they're both the same kind of heightened state. So I used to be really bad about this, where I would kind of like if you're doing a workout and you don't warm up and you don't cool down and your body lets you hear it, same thing would happen with if I just did a bunch of spins on the hoop and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Your body's going to tell you, I need you to chill out. Same with, that's physical, but emotionally, if I just did a sobbing crazy scene, knowing and not judging yourself for needing that time to come back into real you. Like there was this a vertical short I recently worked on. I had to like sob, cry. I don't know if I'm allowed to share yet, but basically there was blood and things, and it was just a lot. They were basically like, can you just like wail, lose your mind? And I was like, heck yes, I can. And it was super fun. And then as soon as we wrapped with that bit, I was also PAing for the production. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to clean up Crafty. And my hands were shaking and I was like, whew. And that was a good lesson of like, okay, this is exertion. It's not physical exertion, but it's mental. And you need to give yourself the time to not expect your body and your brain to be like, okay, I'm good now. So I said, hey, can I have 10 minutes? I'm going to sit in the bathroom and chug water and become a human again. And same with aerial. Like you can't expect your body or your mind to be spinning upside down, hanging by your leg, and then go get Chipotle 2 minutes later. It's about taking the time to know what you need. And I used to get really frustrated and be like, why am I not good? Until I realized that that's being a human and you have to understand your body and your mind's limits.
I definitely agree with you, Kat. Definitely, you got to know that. So, what's a performance you witnessed, not one you were in, that fundamentally shifted your understanding of storytelling?
Ooh. This was pretty recent. Patrick Page, who I think right now he's still running his one-man show, but he's a classically trained actor who has a lot of experience in Shakespeare. He recently came to UNC Charlotte and did a performance of his one-man show, and it's about all the Shakespeare villains. I didn't know what to expect. I kind of expected it to be almost TED Talky, and I was ready for whatever it was. But oh my gosh, it reignited an interest in Shakespeare and an interest in learning about craft and things that I hadn't thought about in a long time, because once I was out of the educational environment, it was kind of easy to focus on, okay, work. And that reminded me, oh, I don't want to stop learning. He just said so much fascinating stuff about like Shakespeare, but also just the craft of acting. And it gave me so much respect and reminded me why I fell in love with acting to begin with. I'm getting emotional now. But I did leave and I was like, wow. And I had just expected to learn some cool stuff, maybe laugh a little bit, but I was literally mouth open. And I was like, girl, calm down. But it was that was a really impressive performance, mainly just because I could tell the preparation that went into it. I think a lot of people talk about like talent or what. I think so much of a good performance is preparation and knowing, like, not wording it right, preparation and respect for it. And it does frustrate me when some folks don't take performance as seriously, which if it's just a hobby for you, that's absolutely fine. But when I'm working with, like in a professional setting, someone that is late all the time or on their phone or not off book, not memorized, not prepared, I'm like, guys, this is such a privilege to do. Not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I think a good performance is rooted in taking your time to do the work, knowing the script, knowing the story, knowing the weird stuff that you shouldn't know. And I could tell that he had done the work, and it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, that's so true. When I know this is kind of like a silly question, but when you think about your artistic identity 10 years from now, what do you hope remains unchanged?
Ooh, you have the best questions. I would say, my initial gut thought was the respect for the work and the last thing I want to do is be phoning it in or just doing it for the money or the recognition. It's never been for that. And I want to, I want to keep it focused on storytelling. I think it's also really important to still keep that joy and not be like, guys, we're working all the time. Like, I think it's about a balance for sure. And I never want to be the negative Nancy that's like, guys, we have to focus. So I definitely want set or rehearsal or whatever it might be to be a positive, fun environment. Like there's room for that play. But I really hope Kat 10 years from now still doesn't take it for granted if she still has the privilege to be performing and remembers how cool it is to tell stories for a living. Like my job is tell stories, which is so cool. Sometimes I forget it and I still get tired in the morning and I'm like, I don't want to go to work. And then I remember work is something that 10-year-old Kat dreamed of for so long. And then I'm like, okay, let's get up.
Yeah, that's
Thank
true.
you for that question. That was beautiful.
You're very welcome. I really appreciate that. So I know that when you're usually on set or on stage, there's things that you realize. What is one thing you realize, this is exactly where I'm meant to be?
This is a very, okay, yeah. So trying to figure out how to word this. I'd say one of the most unexpected part of my recent growth in education as an actor was getting over things that embarrass me or getting over the concept of needing to look a certain way or like I have to look good or I can't do blank. And there were a few specific projects, especially I worked in a Commedia dell'arte troupe, which is Italian physical theater.
Oh, wow.
From the Renaissance. And we performed at the Renaissance Festival for a season. And it was so fun. And you cannot be embarrassed of anything. That any self-awareness, whatever you might call it, got punted out the door because we were crawling around, rolling around, doing the silliest stuff we could think of. And that... Could you remind me of the question? I don't know why, it just left my brain.
What's a moment on set or on stage when you realize this is exactly where I'm meant to be?
I was like, how'd I get here? If you can't tell, my brain is not. Yeah. It was realizing that I had gotten over that. And there have been a few times when I've been asked to do something that, no, there's a very clear difference between something that crosses a boundary for you, like nudity. No, there are a few specific things that I will not do, and boundaries are different from, oh, this is embarrassing. And when you're a kid, you're self-conscious of everything. Like I remember being asked, can you try blank? And I was like, okay. And in the past 2 years, I'd say, being asked the most ridiculous stuff and not batting an eye at it was what made me realize, okay, I actually enjoy this. Like if someone was like, can you do the chicken dance and then do a backflip? I'd be like, okay, cool. No questions asked. Like it's important to know your boundaries and know if there's a certain subject that's not okay or safe for you to venture on, like that's different. But when I started getting asked to do really quick switch ups on the fly, like they'll say, can you say this monologue about death like you're eating chicken and your mouth is full of KFC, like weird stuff, and being like, okay, sounds good. That was what made me realize, okay, yeah, I'm where I want to be. And that was a sense of carefreeness, that's not the right word, but whimsy and fun that I had aspired to for a while. Like I used to be like, dang, I wish I could be as not uptight as those people. And then I realized I got there. Okay. It just took a lot of embarrassing things, and I'm really glad I did them.
If someone asked you to play a deaf or blind or disabled character in a wheelchair, would you, or would you say no? Why don't you get a blind actor or a deaf actress or
Yeah.
an actor who's in a wheelchair? Because that's what
I-
Vanessa Nottingham said. She said that she would never play those. She would say, well, I'm not going to play someone in a wheelchair, deaf and blind, but if I became deaf or blind or in a wheelchair, then I would. So it's complete
Yeah.
opposite. Yeah,
I
definitely.
totally agree. I would very quickly and very respectfully decline. And I've had that before where I can't think of any really specific, really bad examples, but I've been asked to play roles that don't fit my identity, whether that's racially or a disability of some kind.
Mhm.
And when I was younger, it's really hard to say no to stuff when you're young and an actor, because you're like, well, I'm being offered work. And there were a few moments of like, I can't say yes to this and feel good about it.
Mhm.
And your gut knows. Like I've been asked to play non-white roles, or like if
Ooh.
there's a song that I
Whoa.
like, that, yeah, it's no one like really bad example, but like if there's a song that I really like from a musical but the character is not white, it's not for me. That is not
Mhm.
my lived experience, not my story. I'm trying to think. I know
I
this is
believe the
different.
musical Showboat is considered racist now.
Really, I'm not. I'll be honest. I don't know the show too well, but I know it's a golden age, so it's probably not great.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's never been anything too egregious. But if there's like, I get sent an EcoCast, like an audition request for something that doesn't super fit my demographic, and it's something that is specific to the character. Like if it's just we want a person, awesome. But if that character struggles with deafness or is being mistreated because of their ethnic makeup, and that's a big part of them, I can't speak on that, and I don't think it's fair to those people to be like, I'll do it. Like that's not. There are plenty of roles out there, and I would much rather someone who can relate to that get that, because I've also been on the other side where I was actually found and reached out to for a role that is queer, and I am queer, and it made me so happy to. Usually that's something I don't advertise a ton, because usually you don't know who you're auditioning for, you don't know what their beliefs are, so it's best to kind of keep a more neutral presentation. But having that be something that worked for me instead of against me was amazing, because usually I take the piercings out and I dress more normal and I don't say anything about my identity really. But if it comes up, and in this case it was really important to the character's experience and the story, and it made me so happy to even have the chance to audition for a character that, like, oh, that's me, and I know this, I know what this is like. So I want someone else, whether that's an actor of color or a disabled actor, to have that same experience and say other people are going to get to see me show my experience. That's a level that you can't fake.
Would you ever play a mean girl, or would you ever play a serial killer?
Oh heck yeah, I would love to be a serial killer. They're gonna quote that for um yeah, that would be super fun. I've done a lot of horror, and I feel like usually I'm the final girl that's like the
Oh
last one
yeah,
to survive and then is covered in blood, which is super fun. But I want to be
I
the
love
bad guy.
that movie. That
Kill
was a
people.
great movie. Yeah,
Quote of the
Emily
day.
Browning. Remember Final Girl with Emily Browning?
Yes. Oh my
That
gosh.
was a good movie. Oh, I love that movie. So you'd
I
be
really.
Emily Brown then, probably.
Oh, I would love that.
Emily Browning. But wow, yeah, you're just so talented here. So how do you balance the vulnerability required for acting with the precision required for technical theater?
Ooh. I will say they're very different, and there's not usually much overlap. And that's by design. Like if I used to not understand why if you're a designer or a technician for one show or one project, you don't want to double dip. And now I totally get it. I want to keep my world separate, and for good reason, because one of them is a lot more analytical and straightforward. Like you press these buttons and this either works or it doesn't. And so for that, it's a lot more, it's two totally different mindsets. Um, and I'd say I'm still the same person, but it's a very different way that I'm entering like a rehearsal room or whatever project we're working on. Like if I'm a technician, I'm very much in like business. I am doing this and I plug this in, da 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 mode. But if it's a performance role, it's a lot more, like you said, it requires more vulnerability. So I'm a little bit more open, but also I think it's important to keep certain things to yourself. Like sometimes I'll become aware of the fact that, wow, my entire job is being vulnerable. So there are some things that nobody but me and my mom and my dad get to know, because I think it's important to have that separation. Same as with any job. It's really hard to have a work-life balance when your work is emotional and so heavily tied to your body and your mind.
I
So
was
being
going to
like,
ask you this. Yeah, I was going to ask you this question.
yeah,
So I'll ask it. What's a role you haven't played yet that scares you for reasons you can't fully articulate?
ooh, I'm trying to think. Um,
Because I know you play serial killer. I know you play someone who would be queer because you're queer yourself.
mhm.
So that eliminates those two. So what else is there? Like,
hmm, thinking. Not necessarily like a type, but sometimes I will like there are if something's like particularly gory, it depends. There's some like I love gross stuff. I love horror. I work in a haunted house. But if something hmm, no, I'm good with gore. I think it's mental health stuff. Like if something is a little bit too dark, or there's also red flags. Like if a casting notice doesn't really talk about the process too much and it's just like we want you sobbing, we want you wailing, and there's no background information for why that is or what the situation is. Is it grief? Is it pain? What's going on? It's just like crying. That's a red flag for me where I'm like, oh, I don't really want it to be a plug and play type thing. I want it to be a collaboration where we talk about what the character's feeling instead of like, okay, cry. Okay, can you cry? Other than that, there's not really any specific like I would never play a blank. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was asked to audition for a character that uses a slur once, and I did
hmm.
not bring my. I think even though I'm sure there's plenty of roles for it in historical pieces, I don't think a white character that is committing an act of aggression towards a person of color, I couldn't bring
I see
myself
what
to
you
do
mean.
that.
Yeah.
That would like even just being asked to read the slur, I was like, that's all y'all. I don't and I know that it's acting, but that's still just a territory I don't really feel comfortable stepping into.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Kat. I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, so if someone watched your entire body of work in one sitting, what do you hope they'd understand about you as an artist?
These are making me think a lot, and I really enjoy that.
Nice.
I would hope they understand how much it matters to me, and how much, I'm sure this is the case for everyone, but looking at the body of work and just the product, it's like, oh, okay, cool. But the amount of sacrifice and years of ups and downs and learning and steps backwards that went into it, like, it's different from some jobs where there's training and there are learning curves with everything. But if I wanted to learn how to be an accountant per se, it's more straightforward, and I could never do that. My best friend is an accountant. She's a genius. I could never. But it's different in that it's tied into your emotions so much. So I hope that people can see how much of my real self I've poured into the work. And I hope they understand that I really, really care about this. I've gotten a lot of, I'm sure you've heard the jokes about, like, I'll say, yeah, I'm an actor. And people are like, oh, but what's your real job? Like, I get a lot of that. I get a lot of, like, but how are you going to make money? Like, in college, people were like, oh, you're majoring in being unemployed. Got it. Like, people said that to me. And I was like, no, I will do the work. I will start running coffee. I will do whatever. Like, I just care so much about this work. So I hope that people can see how much I care. And I hope it brings them joy, or that somebody sees it and is like, okay, I want to try that. Like, I would love to hear about somebody that came across one of my reels and was like, I want to do that. That would be so cool. I definitely get a lot of that. Of like, oh, it must be so fun. And I'm like, yes, it is fun, but I wish more people knew that it is also hard work.
Oh.
Not any harder than other people's work, but it takes so much time and sacrifice and energy. So when people are like, oh, that must be so cute and fun, I'm like, it is, and I'm grateful, but also I'm exhausted. And it's okay. It's a job as well, so you should be.
Can we try an acting thing here for a second?
Heck yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, the scene is you interviewed for a CEO of a big tech company, and you really want it, and you're just waiting for the Zoom call, and I'm the guy.
And are you the interviewer, like the boss?
No, you be the one who's I'm hiring as a CEO, but I want to make it so difficult for you because you don't know what. Okay, here we go. So it'll be like this. Hello, Miss Fletcher. How are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me today. I just wanted to check in about the status of my application.
Well, just got to let you know that we've had 80 people apply for this position, and 20 of them, which included your resume, ended up in our pile here of yeses, and we have a whole pile of no's here, as you know. And then we put those down to 5, and you were one of the 5. And we're calling everyone, and only one person got the job. So I hate to tell you that we won't be hiring you for this position.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, thank you for letting me know. If you guys are ever hiring for anything in the future, I would absolutely love to work with you. But I really appreciate you taking the time to let me know. If the position ever does open up in the future, I would love to be considered again. But I'm grateful that I made it this far, and I really
Wow, that was good. I like that.
That's just me when I'm locked in on an interview.
I know, but if it
I
happened,
got sad. I didn't get the job.
If it was actually real, like when you really want a job as CEO, or you got a job, any job, and you didn't get your job, you're like, because I have a friend that like they've tried 50 times, they're still, and they like
5-0.
Yeah,
Lord.
Yeah, but you were good. You were good there.
Thanks.
I'm gonna keep that in. It's good. Gonna keep that one in. Okay, so one more question, and then we can end the stream here. So, if someone were to walk up to you and said, Kat, I saw your play As You Like It, Rosalind, and I love all your stuff. I want to do what you do. What do I do? How do I go about getting into acting?
Okay, so I have been asked this, mostly like folks all like me in the class or something, or we're working on set, and it makes me so happy to hear this question. Um, it's pretty generic stuff, but just do everything you can find that is related to performance. Audition for anything. Like, know your boundaries for sure. Don't do weird scammy stuff, and be wary of scams. But what got the ball rolling the most for me was going on Facebook groups, any casting website, Instagram, any social media, and just being annoying. Be annoying, because there are other people that are being more annoying than you. So you gotta, and I don't see it as annoying. It's about being as proactive as you can. I would say get some really good headshots and just start throwing yourself out there. I know a lot of people that are like, well, I don't have any experience, so I don't know where to start. And yes, that it's really tough when you don't have experience, because they're like, we need blah, blah, blah resume. And you're like, well, I want to build my resume.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody will take a chance on you, and it just keeps growing. Like, I've been in that place, and now I'm in a place where like some folks I reach out to are like, you need some more experience. And so like there is always going to be a bigger pond, but you just got to convince yourself that you belong in the pond, because you do. And also get out of your own head. You're fantastic. Like, I wish I could tell 12-year-old Kat that, because we talked about this a bit earlier, but I was so focused on like, am I good enough? Am I whatever? That was hindering my work. Not to say it wasn't good or whatever it may be, but my very first acting teacher, the person that got this whole ball rolling, would always say, you are enough. And I can't thank him enough for that. As simple as it is, it was hanging in our drama classroom every single day. And anytime somebody was like having a rough day, he would just say, you are enough. And it's as simple as that. People are going to say, like, there's so many layers to the arts and making it and the trajectory your career is going to have. But this sounds so hallmarky, but I believe it. If you tell yourself you are enough, you are enough. You belong in whatever space you put yourself in. And if you count yourself out before other people do, it's already too late. Just tell yourself, I deserve to be here, just like everybody else does.
So you responded in a hallmarky way. Why don't you respond in a lifetime way?
Lifetime. Oh, that would be even more cheesy.
I had someone do that. I just said, answer it as comedian, answer it as a drama, and they were good. They were so good. I love having actors. It's really awesome. Thank you so much, Kat Fletcher, actress, singer, aerialist, everyone. Everything will be linked down below. Make sure you watch your reels, look at a resume. Maybe you can hire her for another portion.
Yes, please.
You get a chance to dress up as a man in this one.
Oh, I'll dress up as whatever the heck.
Yeah, I love it. So
Thank
open.
you so much for having me, Chris.
You're very welcome, Kat, anytime. And hope we can do this again in the near future. We've had a person on 8 times already, so you're welcome to be on as many times as you want.
Heck yes, I would love that. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kat. Okay, everyone, we're going to end the stream. Make sure you look at the links down below and watch her reels. We already had shown you a reel earlier. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Kat, wait right there. See you, Kat. Talk to you 1 second. Bye.